For more info on the topic, focus, and guest of the episode, please check the description below. Please enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Inky Thoughts podcast. Today, as always, is a special episode, but this episode is special in a different way than usual because we're diving back into my own nostalgic, nerdy heart's wildest dreams here. We're getting into it. We're rolling the dice, not in a Vegas way, in a much more fun way. We are taking the whole thing on an adventure, and don't worry, we'll talk plenty about tattoos after all. But before I give the whole game away, no pun intended, I would love for you to introduce yourself, Kate.
Wow, what an intro. Hello, I am Kate Welch. I am a dungeon master, a D&D dungeon master, and a former game designer for Dungeons & Dragons. I live in Seattle, Washington, where I've gotten the vast majority of my tattoos here locally. And I am very excited to chat with you today, Mads. I'm already, even in the conversation that we had before this, I've learned so much already. So I'm such a sociology nerd. Oh my God. I was a college dropout. We talked a little bit about college earlier. And the only thing that I was ever really interested in, I remember that I think my roommate gave me this book called Wolf Children. And it was all about like these like highly anecdotal accounts of children who had allegedly been raised by wolves and found in the 1800s and early 1900s. And
you sure that wasn't a D&D book?
I know, right? It certainly is exciting. But that really got me. I think that was my first sociology book, and ever since then I've just been an armchair sociologist. So this is super exciting to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Well, I'm an armchair sociologist myself. I just have degrees behind that chair.
Your chair's a little fancier than mine, I think. Mine's a folding chair.
Until I have a fancy chair. Well, you are sitting in an actual nice looking chair, and I would not dare show the chair I'm sitting in. But regardless of that, I would say you're being a bit modest here, Kate, because you're also, with your Instagram at least, is a bit less modest about a DM to the stars. We're not going to get into all of that, but I just wanted to throw it out there because if anybody's going to make you jealous about your teenage nerddom, if there are any nerds watching or listening, it's Kate, because you've DM'd for some real powerhouses out there. The main one that's having a resurgence now, thank fuck for that, is Mathew Lillard. Like, that's the only one I'm going to mention because he just seems fucking incredibly nice and wonderful, to be honest.
He's the absolute best. He is a delightful man, and we've played a lot of D&D together. We started a whiskey company together too. I know him very, very well, and I love him to pieces. So yeah, we are nerd whiskey, actually.
That's one of the only celebrities I've seen where I'm more weirded out by him not having as many tattoos as I would think.
Yeah, he always makes fun of me whenever he sees my tattoo, like that, not like in a mean way, but if I'm ever like wearing something that shows off my tattoos, he's always like, he calls me a tatted up freak, and he's lovingly, and he's like, I don't understand how you can be such a tatted up freak and have the personality of like a puppy. And he's like, you are the least hardcore.
I so want to take Mathew Lillard to a tattoo convention just so you can have his mind blown.
Yeah, I want to hear his commentary at a tattoo convention.
First of all, he wouldn't be able to walk through a tattoo convention because he would be mobbed by women, men, and everybody there because they will be so fangirling over him. Second of all, he wouldn't pay for anything because everybody's going to be even just as big sweethearts as you and I are, be like, hey, can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you this? Can you sign this? Hey, do you want this? Do you want this t-shirt? Like, you would die from affection, I think, if you went to a tattoo convention.
I think that's kind of how his life is. I think
to be honest,
he moves through the world
like
just
the way
affection.
The world defended him when Tarantino went like, "Oh, you're Mathew Lillard." That's just all like, "What, Tarantino? You thought we were on your side? You thought we were on your side?"
I know. And that Tarantino's in the
somewhere else, man.
Tarantino's in the files.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
No.
Like, I'll happily say I'm very much on your side when it comes to those, but let's not let's have a more fun and joyful
Let's
experience
do.
today.
Let's
Yeah,
do.
let's not. I mean, you already had trouble sleeping the other night. Let's not
I know.
give
Cut
your
this out.
nightmares
Yeah, forget
tonight.
this. But yeah, I've been so
But
lucky. I've gotten to DM for some
but
really
actually,
incredible people.
from one tatted freak to another, how did you get into tattoos? It's the only question I always ask, and I can't help but ask it. But how did you get into tattoos?
Yeah, well, I always wanted one. And my first two tattoo concepts when I was like 18 or so was I'm so glad I didn't get these tattoos. I wonder if other people have this too. They're like, my first tattoo was going to be this, and I'm so glad that I didn't. Because the first one was going to be a Batman tramp stamp, because I thought that was really funny. And then the second one I had concepted was
Wow.
I might still go for it at some point, but
Yeah,
I
go
love
on.
my favorite band in the world is Van Halen, and I was gonna get
Oh,
the Van Halen logo somewhere on
I
me,
can't
but
even
I've just
remember the Van Halen logo, but
it's like it's just a VH with like a circle around it. But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty iconic, and I at first I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't get that because it's a little, it's a little maybe sketchy, white
yeah.
trash kind of a feeling, but I love it
Yeah.
so much, and I like it's very much a pride. I've been going to Van Halen concerts since I was like 6, so
I mean,
it's
to put the sociologist hat on for but a moment right now, but a moment.
please.
White trash is subjectively constructed, like it's
Mm,
very much a way to keep down a class of people to be and say that their behavioral patterns and cultural traditions and anything like that is not worth the same as other people that stand above that cultural description. That being
absolutely.
said, there are certain people that also can give me a feeling of like, damn, I know how you voted when they sit there with a banjo and just as many teeth as the strings in their mouth. So
Exactly.
none of us are free of having some form of prejudice in our mind, but the key to it is to know that to say, let's give people a chance anyways.
Yeah, and I grew up like poor white trash in the South, and I grew up amongst a lot of poor white trash in the South, and so it's like
Mm.
it's my own like stuff around it. Absolutely not a class war type of thing, just my own damage. Anyway, but my first tattoo is quite a story. I was in an online community, and we all met up a couple times a year to go to a big video game convention. And so
Mm.
we were pretty close, a group, but we were scattered all over the place. And there was this one guy in Georgia who was a veteran. He was young, but he was ex-army, I want to say, and um, he was very traumatized by
Mm.
life or by service. I don't know. But there was this very dramatic moment where he unfortunately ended his life, and
Mm.
the life insurance policy that you get from the army, at least at the time, apparently still covered suicide. And he like doled out his life insurance policy to a bunch of us, and myself included. He gave me all this money, and
Yeah.
um, I had a friend who had tried to unalive herself when I was in high school, and I was beating myself up over like, why didn't I see the signs that he was going to do this? Whatever. Anyway, so I used a bunch of that money to get a gigantic tattoo. My first tattoo goes from my hip all the way up across my back
Oh,
and over
the
to this
hell.
shoulder. And I had read that that was like the most painful part of your body was like your ribs, and so I wanted
Yep.
to like kind of self-flagellate a little. Maybe this is all cliche, but I did. I wanted to I wanted
Yeah.
to sit there in the pain and meditate on the feeling that I had, which was like I have to remember that everyone is different. Like my experiences of human beings don't predict the behavior of other human beings because human beings are individuals, and that I pushed this person away because he had reminded me of what had happened with my friend in high school.
Mm.
And indeed, he did end his life, and it was irrational, but I thought, what if I had what if I had been more open to friendship with this person, and like could I have made a difference? All very like egotistical and wishful thinking and everything. Um, but yeah, my first tattoo was also easily my hardest. I think it was one of very few. Most of I would say half, at least half my tattoos have been done by, no, almost all of them have been done by men. And this particular guy was very heavy handed and very hardcore.
Yikes.
This was in Portland, Oregon. But I remember him being like, "Wow, impressive! You're gonna get this giant tattoo, and you don't have any tattoos at all."
I
And
mean, most tattoo artists, if you come in with that big a design idea for your first tattoo, be like, "Damn, you sure? You sure about this? We're not taking
mm-hmm.
money, but you sure about
Yeah,
this?"
yeah, and it's it's I got it when I was like 22, 24. It's still going pretty strong. It's all my tattoos have healed really well, so I've been really lucky
Yeah.
about that. But
But I would
it's
imagine you use sunscreen like I do.
oh yeah, and I'm from
Yeah,
Seattle, so I'm pale
that's
as
why.
hell. Yeah,
Hey, hey,
that's the
hey,
secret.
hey.
We got that Danish complexion.
Most Danes aren't even this pale, honey.
But yeah, that's kind of how it started, and I
This is that White Walker complexion.
mhm. And then after that, it's just as I'm
Yeah.
sure has been told to you many times, it's an addiction.
Well, no. It has been told to me, but I disagree. But I do, but I can
Mm,
explain.
please.
It is rather the fact that until you try being tattooed, whatever level you tell yourself you want to go to has not actually been tested.
Mm,
And when you realize, hey, I actually really like being tattooed, and then you realize, hey, I actually really like how my body looks with tattoos, that goalpost will keep being moved and moved and moved. And when you then at the same time feel the endorphin rush of this sense of authenticity, the reflection you had, as you talk about, over certain parts of your life, you feel this heightened sense of awareness, sense of self through that
hmm.
reflection forced upon by the event of the tattoo. That it doesn't become addictive, but of course you feel like, well, next time I get a chance, gonna add to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, even people I know who are going over the same bodysuit for the second or third time, full body,
Oof.
will not call themselves addicted. And here's the other reason why, as I have from a good friend of mine, Matt Davis, not the other Matt I told you about before the interview, but a psychiatrist in North America, up in one of the North New England states, I think. Great guy, heavily tattooed, even the head now and the neck, which he didn't do for years. But he would also say the reason it's ridiculous to him to call it an addiction is because it removes the agency and the will and the effort he put into collecting all these tattoos, the meaning of it to him, the personal reflections put in him, all that. Because people don't reflect about an addiction; they just fix. You know, people don't
Mm.
go in and go like, "Oh yeah, I need this heroin." But first, let me go and think about why do I need this heroin? Is there better quality? Can I get some good quality here? Like, no.
I
Same with
that's fair. Yeah.
same with gambling addictions. People when they're really addicted to gambling don't go, no, no. I only play at this casino, and I only play at a proper game with the right stakes. No, they will find somewhere to play until everything is spent. You know,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
not how to do. There's also the more medical term. Sorry to go on about this. It's just one of my few pet peeves. Tattoo addiction.
Oh
There's
yeah, it's
also
okay.
the other side of it that it's not a medical addiction. It's not a chemical addiction. Nobody gets withdrawals from not getting tattooed
Mm.
in the physiological sense. Nobody gets jitters or migraines or nausea or you know anything.
Yeah, I think when I say tattooing feels addictive, it is definitely a cheeky
Yeah.
way of describing it, because there's not really a better word.
No, I
But
get it.
also I should be more careful with that word. So thank you for the
No, no,
reminder.
no. There's a point made by Matt when we talked about it on this podcast some years ago, where he is more concerned with the danger of misusing words like addiction and
Mm.
stuff like that.
Hmm.
But he would say the same about words like when people say, "Oh, I'm depressed," when they're just sad, or "I'm
Hmm.
OCD," when they're just fucking a little neurotic or something like that, or anything like that. where misuse of diagnostic lingo can be sort of remove attention or mislead attention
Yeah, I agree
in a
with
sense.
that. I agree with that.
But that's a whole lot of gimmick. That's more he's way more concerned with that as a psychiatrist within his purview there, where I'm more of the sociological mind that people can distinguish to some extent language in that way, and sometimes it get appropriated to new uses, and we can't really control that very well.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, there's I know that's a tongue in cheek, like I'm addicted. It also becomes
Mm-hmm.
a way of almost excusing, in a sense. Yeah, I couldn't help get another one, which I get that. Like, especially if
Yeah.
you, if anyway, have a social circle, family circle, cultural circle, your local network where you live, it might not like tattoos as much. It's way easier to tell people, yeah, I can't stop.
Yeah, well,
That always have to do with song and dance,
it does come up a lot when I converse with other tattooed people, at conventions or
Oh,
whatever. Or people, of course, as you are probably aware, tattoos are a really great conversation starter with
oh yeah.
strangers, which I appreciate because I have pretty bad social anxiety, and so I
Mhm.
I love that people approach me and want to talk about my tattoos because now we have something to talk about. And so. But the thing that I have found community in, at least in America, is other tattooed people sympathizing with each other, feeling like it's addictive. Like it is, it's just but it is what that means is that's shorthand for saying like you'll be scared of your first one, and then
Yeah,
afterward you'll be like, what was I so scared of? This is really
yeah,
fun. Like that's
yeah.
that's more of, and
That,
I
that
I
that's
wish there was a more of a word for that.
yeah. I mean, I very much agree with you there. There is sort of a lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So I get
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shorthand use of it, absolutely. I mean, that was a
Yeah, for
big
sure.
tangent, a very relevant tangent,
No,
but
not at
it,
all. Not at all. Lovely. Thank you.
it all starts why pet people really treat it hard.
No, I love it.
I,
Thank you. Thank
I
you for
can't.
correcting. I
I'm a.
appreciate. I do need to be more careful about that word for
I
sure.
mean, being a sociologist, at least my kind, is also having a black belt in asshole pedantry to some extent.
Well, the important thing is you're self-aware.
A mighty kind of you, Kate.
Joking.
That's a bit like when I lived in Glasgow. People are like, "Hey, I mean, at least you know you're a cunt."
Is it true in Glasgow that they say big man, like instead of like
Aye, I've had
big man?
that so many times, but it depends on the tone. And I'll probably just from talking about it, so just swing back into my Glaswegian accent now. But I once went into my favorite bar. I've just recently stopped drinking or anything like not for any problems. I just got bored with it. So, but
Same.
back then had the favorite bar and I went into it. And on the way in, this random guy I've never met just went, "Hey, man, nice tattoos, man." But the thing is, if it's set with that other tone, like it's happened to me as well, it's like, "Hey, big man, I'll fuck you fucking up, man. I'll fucking come kick your teeth in." You know, it's
Oh.
the tone.
Uh-oh.
But
Mm,
Scottish English is very much about tone with everything. And this
I
is,
see.
I swear we'll steer back to tattooing and nerdery, but I will just tell my favorite fact, and it's the word I.
Uh-huh.
Because I means everything under the sun. And it's all depending on tone. Because you can be like, "Oh, I just got a new gig DMing it," and I'll be like, "Hi, good."
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
he'll come up and say, "Oh, I just lost my job and I'm unemployed." I'll be like, "Aye, that's sad to hear, aye."
Oh, okay, okay.
It's everything.
Hmm.
I is just an affirmation. I've heard what you said. Yes, it can also be used as yes, which is where the confusion also lies. You can also be like, "Oh,
Mm.
do you want a snack?" Aye, I do.
Well,
But
it's nice to have a word that's a catch-all like that.
it is heavily used. Like that is the most used word in the Scottish vocabulary is "I."
Good to know.
If you think pirates say "I" a lot, you should go to Glasgow. But hey, I gotta ask us a bit curious. Because you have quite a tattoo collection nowadays. I mean, you have your arms pretty covered, you have your actually a lot of your back done, and all that. And I gotta ask, because I have one D&D related tattoo, sort of. I have a red dragon here.
Very cool.
That's as far as it goes. Do you have any D&D related tattoos?
I have I I have one D&D tattoo, and it's this one on my finger, this little acorn.
Right. Aye, 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 aye.
And it is because the way that my longest running campaign mustered, the way our DM got us together, is that we all received letters with a gold capped acorn in them. And that was how we all assembled and met each other for the first time. And so probably a year or two into my game, I was like, this is such a special game and such a wonderful group. And I know it's not going to last forever, but you know what will? A tattoo. And so I went off and got this cheeky little acorn when I was getting my chest done, and I just had him add an
Damn, what a
acorn.
day. What a
Mm-hmm.
day in the studio. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you are living embodiment of how women just take tattooing better than men do pain wise. Because I would do fuck all that day, rest of the day, whenever I've got my chest tattooed. That's a wrap on the rest of the day. I'm just gonna go home and pity myself.
I'll just get one more tattoo.
Just
I do have two Lord of the Rings tattoos, which in many ways is
right,
the
okay.
daddy
So,
of
I mean,
Dungeons and
that's
Dragons.
pretty adjacent,
Yeah.
I would say. We're
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about
yeah,
the
for sure.
inspiration and such, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, for some people that might not get it like you and I do, because for me, it seems so logical, having played role-playing games, that it can mean so much to you that you're like, I gotta get a tattoo for this.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that's actually what draws people in? Because I don't know if you've noticed like I have, but I at least have seen so many more tattooed nerds in the public space and also just privately nowadays, even in the Dungeons and Dragons community. Because yeah, we sort of saw the tabletop war gamers get into tattoos a bit earlier than the rest of us and stuff like that, and some of the others I think. But D&D people, it seemed like they were sort of, nah, we're just gonna play role playing games, and my character might have a tattoo, but I don't have tattoos. But that's
That
flipped quite
that
a
is
bit, right?
so interesting. Yeah, I see. There's so many nerdy tattoos these days. Like even like Pokemon tattoos, right? Like people who get nerdy about that. And I think that, I mean, you are far more qualified to speak on this, but my theory is one of the things that nerds do, for better or worse, is they formulate their identity based on the things that they love. And that's kind of one of the dictionary definitions of being a nerd. And when you love something long enough, a tattoo becomes like, oh, maybe I should get a tattoo of that, because I want everyone to know that like I am. That this is how I think of it. I want everyone to know I am dedicated to this. I want people to, when they observe me, to know like, oh shit, she's about this. She stands on business. Like this, she loves this. She loves this so much. She sat through 14 hours to get it tattooed on her.
Yeah. And you
And
make it sound like a warning sign, like people know when they see your Lord of the Rings tattoos to not fuck with your Lord of the Rings knowledge. They're like,
exactly, exactly. I think there's part of that too. Is that like, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but there is something, if I'm honest with myself, about how I am. The tattoos help me prove something, um,
mm,
and I think it can kind of be. I don't even know if I want to analyze it that deeply because I'm afraid of what I'll find. But I do think that I I experienced, especially in my 20s,
yeah.
um, a great deal of the uh, fake fake geek girl
The
phenomenon,
challenge
which,
of are you really part of this?
yes, yeah,
Most women
yeah,
face still today.
yeah, and these days, I think it's so much better there than it ever was, because there's so many more female
Yeah.
nerds that it's like,
I
she's a
think
fake
that's
geek
what makes
girl.
it better. But
Hmm.
sadly, in the nerd community, it differs from place to place. I think it might be a little better depending on where you are in the States. It's not my experience of Denmark, and I could be dead wrong, so don't hate me, anybody listening to this, is that it's a bit more backward still. Sometimes it's a bit more
Mm,
just the guys around the table and girls not welcome. Whereas in the UK, it was very diverse, the nerd communities.
hmm.
But
Yeah,
the fact of the matter is, still to this day, women face such scrutiny,
for sure.
maybe
Yeah.
even worse at times, from men in the communities, whether they're
Oh.
real or not. Because that's the thing, sociologically speaking, some groups do when they feel their territory they feel entitled to encroached upon, then they put up the gates, they put the defenses up, and they get even more aggressive. So that's sadly why we see this in the nerd community, especially with tattooed female nerds, might I add. that they face such heinous comments sometimes
Ooh.
about their interest and their interest in those interests.
Oh man. I'm 41, so at this point, if someone were to like geek check me, I would laugh. I would just laugh. Like I have nothing to prove to you, and I don't care what you think of me. But in my 20s, different story. Definitely different story.
Yeah,
So I can imagine being a young woman in
yeah.
in the nerd world is still very challenging.
But I think you hit an interesting point building on this just before, which is tattoos in a way. And I think it's because my observation is that it's women, especially in the nerd communities, that get more tattoos these days. And I think it's not all this, because I think it's also very reflexive, like in your case, a lot of it, and it's done in a very beautiful way. But partially, like you're talking about yourself, some of it is also to cement and reclaim their right to be in that space, to show their commitment, and to, in a way, not in a way of like, hey, I want to prove I'm doing this, but in a way they want to say, hey, fucker, I actually like this enough that I did this, so you can fuck right off checking me about this shit,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And that's how I
Yeah.
analyze it, was because I fear it might sound like it's just, oh, I'm gonna go out and be fake interested in tattoos to prove I'm interested. No, no, it's a real interest, but they just double get a double whammy out of it by saying, hey, it can also showcase that, hey, don't check me on this because I actually committed enough that you don't have a tattoo to do this. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely gotten the benefit of that a few times, and like bizarrely, bizarrely like getting I have a Rocketeer tattoo. I was one of my
Oh,
first
okay.
ones.
That's
Um
that's
and
that's a deep pull of a video game these days.
oh man, yeah, I never even played the video game, the like old
That's the one
Nintendo
main thing I
game.
remember. Oh yeah, it was not a video game
It was a
originally. It was something else.
it was a comic book, and then it was a film,
That's
and
right.
then it was a video
Sorry
game, I
about that.
think. Oh no, 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 it's okay. A lot of people, I actually somebody sent me a copy of the video game recently. But yeah, I was a fan of the film. I didn't. I was It was 91, I think, when it came out, and it was. So I was like seven or so when I first saw it, and the reason I got it later in life as a tattoo was because it was the first movie I ever remember seeing where the
Mhm.
glorification was in capping Nazis. And I fucking hate Nazis. I know that's a pretty controversial take, but I really hate Nazis, and I always have. As a child, I was obsessed with. We went to the Holocaust Museum in DC when I was in the seventh grade. So I was 12. And that kicked off this like obsession with World War II that has been
Mm.
consumed me my whole life. And trying to understand
On the note on
Nazism.
hating Nazis, I almost installed Wolfenstein again just to kill Nazis not too long ago.
Yum yum yum. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Um, yeah, it's I've got like the Rocketeers like uh holding a German Luger. Um,
okay.
it's pretty cool. It's a really good um reminder for me of my values.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, I think and the movie is surprising. It's a Disney movie. If you've never seen it,
Okay.
you must. It's so good. It's a Disney movie, and it is so fucked up for a Disney movie. Like they
I mean,
push
you're
Nazis
really
out
selling
of.
it right now. Okay.
It's so good. There's a scene where they're fighting on a zeppelin in the sky, flying around, and the zeppelin is like exploding, and
I
a
mean,
Nazi falls out of the zeppelin and dies like from a huge distance. It's awesome.
I
It's
mean,
awesome.
who doesn't miss the day and age, not to digress, where Disney killed villains?
Oh, so good. And it's got Jennifer Connelly in it, like
Oh,
when she was like younger, and right after Labyrinth, and around the same time she did Dark City. If you've ever seen
I'm
Dark
gonna make you
City.
very sad right now. I've never watched Labyrinth because it's one of those movies
Oh,
where I've heard so much about it throughout my teens, my 20s, and everything that I'm not in a rush to watch it because I've already had everything about it spoiled. So I'd rather
mm,
save that. But let's say I get a new partner one day that really wants to watch it. I'd rather watch it with somewhat fresh eyes with them.
yeah, yeah. It's despite it being spoiled, like somebody could tell you the entire plot of the movie Labyrinth, and you still haven't come close to experiencing it because it is
I
such
mean,
a
you do love
bizarre.
David Bowie as well, but I
I
would
do.
say because if I've not misread, there is a David Bowie tattoo somewhere in your collection as well.
Oh, I wish. No, I don't think I have a
Oh,
David
wasn't
Bowie
that weird?
tattoo.
Might be
No.
somebody else I saw recently that has a David Bowie tattoo. I don't know.
I would get one for sure. But that's a great idea, actually. That's going on the list. Um,
He
but
does
David
also look
Bowie,
sort of like a wizard, even when he did sort of look like a wizard, even out of costume. You know,
he's so good in it. But I saw that movie a lot when I was a child. It's so disturbing. Like when you watch it, imagine being a little kid watching it, and you'll get the full experience. It's a super weird movie. I'm kind of still scared to rewatch it as an adult. It's so upsetting. Anyway, let's get back to tattoos.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah. So yeah, I think as far as I mean, nerddom is about proving something.
Yeah.
I think that it can be, when I say masculine, I don't necessarily mean men because I have definitely had more masculine energy in my 20s and 30s than I care to admit. Um, but I
Mm.
think it's a masculine drive to want to show that you are the most committed to the thing that you love. And the way that I show that I'm the most committed is by getting a tattoo of it because you're saying this is on my skin forever. I'm going to sit through an abhorrent amount of pain and do it happily and pay an absurd amount of money. And then this is going to be on my skin forever. Like, it's a little bit competitive. Um, these days I don't care. I get stuff because I love it and I think
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But certainly I think my Rocketeer tattoo, I was like, oh, I'm not like other girls, which is now my most hated phrase. I'm not like other girls. I have a Rocketeer tattoo. Aren't I
Yeah.
interesting? So there definitely was some of that in my 20s, and
Mm.
I think in the nerd space it can certainly be that.
I don't say, I think in your case, to first get at this point, you've sort of firmly moved into the space I occupy as well, and others that this podcast often occupy, which is that you've moved away from just having tattoos into being a tattooed person, where
Yeah.
it is part of who you are now, being tattooed,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't no longer require any deep meaning or anything like that. You just
Mm-hmm.
get a meaning and a sense of self out of being tattooed, which I mean,
Yeah.
most nerds don't go that far. We have, both of us.
Yeah.
But I think that's the distinction there. That's why you've moved into that, where others, I mean, you can even be a person with like double full sleeves and other tattoos and still not be a tattooed person. It's about that commitment and that headspace and in loving tattoos to such an extent that you start diving into the culture, being interested in the history, being interested in different art forms, liking the art and getting into that, the different styles and all that shit. That's why
Absolutely.
you sort of get into that. And
Mm-hmm.
going to conventions if you feel so inclined, which I think
Yeah.
you probably have been to conventions of all sorts of genres.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a tattoo at a convention, at a tattoo
Oh, cool.
convention. So
Nice.
I've
I
done
mean,
that.
it
Check that
could
one off.
these days it could have been at a different kind of
I
convention thing.
know, I
I mean,
know.
that happens quite more often these
Exactly.
days that are tattoo
Yeah.
artists at nerd conventions as well, which proves part of our point to circle it back. That tattooing has become so popular in nerd spaces that you have tattoo artists at comic book conventions, at D&D conventions, at board game conventions, at fucking movie conventions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so ingrained in that. And this is the point I wanted to circle back to, not as elegantly as I hoped, but I think to add on to your point with wanting to showcase something like that and that you feel so, there's 2 points I want to make. One is the one, a tattoo artist that was the nerd who used to tattoo me also said once, I think it was him, might have been somebody else, but I'll make the point anyways. There was a When you're really nerdy about something, it can feel so much inside that you don't know what to do with it. So a tattoo seems like a fantastic idea. You just can like get it out of you and then onto your
Yeah.
skin,
Yep.
which is
That
such a
absolutely
passion.
tracks.
And
Yeah.
the thing I would add onto that as a sociologist is that tattoos and nerddom have two things in common. To work out in the best case scenario way, they both require passion.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to showcase that passion through another passion sort of creates a symbiotic relationship between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I think I'm thinking about all my tattoos, and um, they're either nerdy or they're animals.
I
Like
mean,
those are my two genres.
to be fair, ask the right person, then they're all nerdy.
Yeah, that's true. That's totally true. I am a nerd for animals. But it's funny. I have two Lord of the Rings tattoos, as I mentioned, and I got the first one, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm a Lord of the Rings tattooed person. And then to your point of like, I feel so much that it's like I don't know how to express it any other way. I was like, I need another Lord of the Rings tattoo. I love Lord of the Rings more than one tattoo. I have to get another one. I like, and I probably am not done. Like that's such a
Hmm.
great way of putting it. Is like
What's
I
the
just
thing?
need
Like,
to.
I got one Star Wars tattoo here, and then I got a
Mhm.
sleeve later on to add on to it because and I'm probably gonna get another Star Wars during
Yes.
the arm done as well because it
Yeah.
means something else to me. But it also
Hmm.
like there's a reflexive part to it as well. At least I'll use myself as an example here as well, and you can let me know if you agree or disagree or have a similar experience. But at least for me, it also has a reflexive element to it, my Star Wars tattoos, as I sort of am showcasing by the fact that I don't have any brand or IP characters on it. It's all custom made original characters on there. Of course, with logos and iconography from the show, else it wouldn't make sense, and lightsabers and shit like that. But that also showcases that I am into Star Wars in the way that I like it, the way I like it. I don't care
Hmm.
about how other people like it. I don't care about the critiques other people have. I don't care about any of that. I enjoy
Hmm.
it the way I enjoy it. And I think
Yep.
that's the healthiest point any nerd can get to. And the most people I've met that have that opinion are often nerds that are tattooed. Because I think it also serves as a way to guard yourself against the heavy critique a lot of nerds often face from other nerds about are you liking what I like the right way,
Mm.
you know?
Mm. Yeah, and tattoos are a really interesting way to collaborate creatively with a thing that you love.
Mm.
Like I both of my Lord of the Rings tattoo. This my chest piece is is Eowyn's skull with Theoden's helm, and it's like this fanfic that didn't happen, and you know
No, no.
it's totally in my head. But the idea that she died in battle wearing her uncle's helmet, and the symbol mine are surrounding her skull and
Wow.
with this skull, or that with this helm, and then my arm
That's
piece
so cool.
is
Sorry, but that
thanks
is so
thanks.
cool.
But that's not like but I think of that as like I had this idea of something that I thought would be kind of cool, and it's not canon. But now it's mine. Like this is my Lord of the Rings collaboration. This is my contribution to a thing that I love. And so I think that's like your Star Wars tattoo, maybe. It's something where you were like, I love this thing. I'm not only going to put it on my skin, but I'm going to make it completely mine. This design, this
Yeah.
art that no one else will have and no one else will ever have, and it only exists on my skin as a representation of this thing that I love. I think that creative collaboration between this untouchable thing that you
Mm.
can never be a part of because you just weren't there, and you being here now and loving it so much, you get to mix those two things sometimes when you have the
Absolutely.
right kind of
Uh,
tattoo.
and to another point you made, and this will circle nicely into a different point I want to get into in a bit, but like you said, it opens up conversation, but it also does that in nerd spaces. You sort of feel really cool when you're like, for example, I was at a Star Wars convention in 2016, the Star Wars celebration in Europe. Yes, that is how much of a nerd I am, together with my father.
Awesome.
And the amount of tattoos I saw there, but it also made you so eager to go up and ask, like, oh, why do you, like one
Mhm.
guy had the entire Battle of Endor on his back. Lower part of his back was the ground battle, Ewoks versus Stormtroopers, Rebel Alliance, and all that stuff, and the top half was the space battle, Death Star up in one corner. It was an amazing back piece,
I just
and
want to see if it's online.
it immediately started conversations about, oh, why do you like? So you like, okay, is it Return of the Jedi? That one, I think that's
Uh
Return of
huh.
the Jedi.
Yeah, my
Do
favorite.
you like? Why is that your favorite? Why is that? Like that's so cool. And people would ask me, why do you have? Is that Ahsoka? And I said, no, it's not. Or why do you have another Togruta on there? And you immediately you learn all these stuff about how deep are you into it.
Yeah.
Oh, do you like that? And then people would ask me because it was back in 2016. Oh, are you excited about? They might make a show about Ahsoka. All that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It even within nerddom, it sort of creates this comfort and icebreaker. in a
Yeah.
sense.
Icebreaker is such a great way of putting it because like I said earlier, I am a socially anxious person. I can certainly put on a good show, but I am nervous to talk to people. And I think a lot of nerds are. Like I think we are
Mm.
as a general rule, not a total rule, but a general rule, we are pretty indoor kids. And so socializing is not
Many
necessarily
of
our
us have
strong
been bullied
suit.
for our interest, especially in our generations,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
immediately makes you somewhat introverted in certain
Yeah.
contexts, at least.
And I think a lot of these stories appeal to introverts for reasons that are
I
probably
mean,
beyond the
I'm not one
purview
of
of
those nerds,
this.
even though we have plenty in our generation that were like this, I think. They were like, oh, these kids are spoiled. They grow up not having to hide their nerd and stuff like that. No, I'm happy for that. Like, I'm
No,
so
I
happy to
was.
see that people
That's
don't
the
have to
way it
hide that
should
they're nerd.
be. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
But
exactly. I don't
but
think you
but
should have
you
to
do
earn
get
anything.
you do get people that are like, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this yourself, especially moving around nerd space a lot more than I do. Uh, where people are like, oh, they don't earn it anymore. We used to earn that we were nerds. We used to hide our Warhammer boxes and our Magic the
Hmm.
Gathering bags and stuff like that. They're like, yeah, but isn't it fun that they don't have to?
I know that, especially in D&D, there are so many old
Oh yeah,
school, like guys
yeah.
who've been playing it since the 70s, and they want to tell you about the persecution that they faced, and
Yeah.
I
I think they
appreciate
want
it.
vindication in a weird sense. They want to feel
They,
validated for having gone through that. They want to be,
yeah, yeah, and I
in a
think
strange sense at least, understood.
it's a badge of honor for them at
Yeah,
this point too, was that like they were in the trenches, they had to
I went
fight.
through the demonic scare. Like,
Yeah, the satanic panic. Yeah.
yeah, that
But
was even over here. Like that was not just
oh,
in the States. That was
that's crazy.
global. It's wild
That's
to
so
know. Like that
crazy.
was even in little Denmark. There was like there were priests be like, "It's a satanic game. We heard it over from our colleagues in the States. You cannot play it, kids."
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but yes, I've heard plenty of old
Yeah,
school nerds in my life
yeah.
tell me how difficult it used to be a nerd, and I'm kind of sympathetic to it, but also I'm like, try being female.
Absolutely, 100%
Not
agree.
fun.
100% agree. 1,000% agree. But I was also about to say maybe they should just get a tattoo about it. Like
I know. Get a tattoo about it.
yeah,
God.
fucking reflect, process. Speaking of processing and tattoos, and not to
Yeah.
rip up old wounds, but other than Matthew Lillard calling you a freak, how has it been interacting with people when you're out DMing with your tattoos and stuff like that?
Okay, first of all, let's clarify. I love Matthew Lillard. Let's see.
I can't believe you said Matthew. I would love if I ever meet that guy because he seems so nice. But I
He's a
wanted a
sweetie.
villain to make my segue, and he had to play the part. He's played villains before. He's fine with it.
He's wonderful. Yeah, DMing with tattoos. Um, I don't know if this is imagined, but I feel that my tattoos give me a weird credibility when
Mm,
in the Dungeons and Dragons space, even though only just this tiny one is D&D related, and even that one is not obvious. Um,
no.
I I think that um, let me see if I can unpack this. I think that because so many of my games are male dominated, I don't think
Mm.
I've ever played at a female dominated table. Um,
Oh.
but they're always so male dominated, and I tell you what, like there are uh, there are worse ways to flex on a male dominated space than getting your tattoos out. Like if I am wearing like a sleeveless t-shirt and you can see all of these, like my sleeves and my chest piece, men tend to not fuck with me, and that's kind of what you need as a dungeon master, especially when you're
Yeah,
DMing for
yeah.
strangers. You need them to understand, like, in a moment, in a single breath, I know what I'm talking about, and
Mm.
you will defer to my judgment. Now, in my
Fuck
case,
your rule of
my
cool. Like,
fuck fuck your rule of cool. This is my rule of cool.
Yeah.
But my judgment is very lenient. I'm a super rules light
Yeah.
DM. I am goofs and sillies all the way. And so like when I say you will defer to me, there's no power play really
No, I
there.
mean
It's
that
more
that was
that
why I wanted to like if the previous 40 minutes we've been speaking haven't been a clue, quite a jovial person, Kate.
but yeah, it's like it's I do think it has an effect
No.
when because I think it can cow someone who might otherwise want
No.
to rebel against a female dungeon master is like, oh
Yeah.
shit. That's why Lillard makes fun of me and
It's
says
sort
that
of
I'm
maybe
too sweet
well, yeah.
to be a tatted up
So it
freak.
works on everybody except Lilith. Like everybody except Matthew, it works on.
Exactly. Well, because he knows me so well. But I
Yeah.
think that when people see me and they judge me based on my tattoos, they think I'm a tatted up freak and
Yeah.
probably a really scary person. But
Yeah.
I am not. And
It's sort of
that's what.
utilizing the lingering prejudice and stigma in a way to your advantage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It is very much, and it's the lingering prejudice and stigma is silly, and especially in a town like Seattle where I live, there are more tattooed people than not. It feels like
But
it's everywhere.
Seattle's renowned, at least for anybody. I mean, I'm at least somewhat familiar with the states and some of the bigger cities, and
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about Seattle and Keep It Weird and all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I would imagine that that's one of the
Yeah.
demographics where there are a lot of tattoos.
Oh, so many tattoos, and we have such a giant like tech corporate environment. So it's
Mm-hmm.
also like all of these people in tech who are
Yeah,
also tattooed is interesting,
yeah.
But yeah, I think that although that stigma is fading, it isn't completely gone, and in my
No.
opinion, should never be because it hurts to get a tattoo. It hurts, and the recovery is painful and annoying. And at least for me, like all of those things are true for me. And while I don't know that pain, I'm sure you have a take on this. I don't know that pain should necessarily be a required gate that you have to pass in order to get a tattoo. Like I have friends who use numbing creams when they go get tattooed,
Yeah.
and more power to them. But I none of mine were done with any kind of numbing agent. I did it. I've done this all just like cold turkey. And I think that when people see that, they're like, "Oh my god, this woman suffered a lot. I respect it." And
Yeah.
that I think is deserved because it does. Yes, it hurts.
Well, I will say one correction, only friendly one. That's not prejudice, but but it is. I get where you get. It's sort of preconceived
Oh
notion
no,
that
it's
oh, she
different.
can.
It's different. The prejudice is a separate thing. I agree.
Oh,
There's
fair
there's a
enough.
prejudice that like people are scary and like, oh, this person's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
hurt me. That's not what I mean. The respect though of like, wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money and time and
But I
pain.
mean,
Like
I
that.
get that. I get that. That I get, and I don't think
Yeah.
for anybody that gets into what I would call the know about tattoos, even just slightly, that respect becomes quite apparent because they know
Mm.
the time you've put in. Uh,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
at the very least, and the commitment you've shown to stuff you enjoy, all
Mm-hmm.
the art you have on your body
Mm-hmm.
and all that. And I think that's brilliant, and that's a thing I wish even lay people would get that because that would actually
Yeah.
remove a lot of the stigma and prejudice if people recognize that it's actually just a commitment to the self and what you're interested in and your own and a pursuit, as sociologist Michael Reese would call it. I think he actually called it a quest, very apropos of what we are talking about today as well, for authenticity. That we just want to be
Yeah.
this, what we see as our authentic selves. But
Mm-hmm.
the other point you made, because I will give my quick 2 cents, even and like rest for a moment. As a sociologist, I would say I'm a bit more. It's up to the artist and the client themselves. It's up to their experience with it and their own tattoo journey together, whether numbing cream or pain is the right gate to have. I will say, with a caveat though, that when we remove the pain, a lot more people that would normally reflect due to that pain being in the future of getting one stop reflecting and just go with it and get
Mm-hmm.
shitty tattoos done that they later regret because that isn't there to really make them think, okay, it's going to be painful. So I'm going to go through this pain. I've got to make it meaningful, which is a really it's not necessary, but it's a lot more of a healthy way, at least when you're starting out, to go through it. Uh, as a collector myself, taking off the sociology hat for a moment, uh, I think it's a bit of a bad thing to do. I think the pain is
Mm.
part of it. It's very much part of the journey. We all can feel a lot of pain, but I think if I'm going to be lenient, you should at least get the first 5 or 10 done without pain relief. Like,
I could see
I don't want
that.
to say this because it's sort of misappropriated by a very overly masculine sort of enclave, I would say. But pay your dues. Like, show that you actually want to commit to this.
Hmm.
Then, especially as you get older, because they only get more painful, you can go and figure out, okay, maybe
Yes,
it's
this is
time
true.
to get some numbing cream or take some ibuprofen before I go and get tattooed and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But especially when you're young, when you're wanting to commit to this, I think it's a good trial to go through with yourself as well. That okay, is it worth it? Because if you, for lack of a better term, because I don't like using this term, but it's stuck in my head, so I'll just get it out. If you pussy out after one tattoo because it hurt a lot, then they weren't for you.
Yeah.
Then you weren't meant, not in a destiny sort of way, but then it just, if you don't want to commit through pain, you shouldn't be tattooed. that, that's my collector thing, at least.
Okay.
Matt Davis will actually have an interesting thing to say about now that we talked about him earlier. He would say that you actually remove a crucial part of why it becomes so reflexive because you think I'm not sure I agree on the science of this, but it is an interesting theory, and I think there might be some weight to it. But the pain is part of what makes you reflect on yourself, and part of what helps you um, what's it called in English? One second, my English is failing me for a moment here. Uh, um,
Transcend?
sort of help transcend, transform, and pass through and digest a lot of the stuff you have going on. Uh, and he
Yeah.
thinks that he would argue more than I would that the pain plays a crucial part of that. So removing the pain from the session removes that.
I would never choose to numb a tattoo myself
No.
because of perhaps what you're referring to, which is that the pain is this meditative experience for me of like this hurts like hell. Like the my I'll always think about my chest piece. It was there were parts of my chest piece where I was like, why am I fucking doing this? It
Every
was
one of the
so
four
painful.
times I've had my chest tattooed, that has been the majority of the time spent.
Yeah, yeah. But but at the same time, no matter what the pain level is, the whole time I'm like, ow, ow. And what I appreciate about that experience is it forces me to live in the moment. It
Yeah.
forces me to uh experience the pain and understand that like this is the world that I live in for the foreseeable future is completely full of physical pain, and I am making the choice to do that because it's worth it to me, but also because the zen moment to moment of like pain out and trying to almost invoke an out of body experience to put myself in a place where the pain
Yeah.
is just a sensation, just yet another sensation, like a hot or cold or thirsty or whatever,
Uh,
to analyze, almost to be like, isn't this interesting that this hurts? What does
yeah, I
that
mean,
mean for me?
absolutely.
Can I think about my pain in a different way? Can I put it in a different place in my body? Can I observe it and think about like what is it actually feeling? Oh, it's sort of hot, it feels stingy. Like
Yeah.
putting words to it and analyzing the pain, I have found a very interesting experience for me, and in controlling, whether I associate certain sensations with being good or bad.
Yeah.
And I think that uh, hours and hours of that is almost hypnotizing.
I
Do
would
you know what I'm
say
talking about?
I have two notes in this. One, ironically, is going to be what linguistically counterintuitive to what you just said, but it's sort of just saying it in a different way. I would say Matt might agree with this as well. Don't know if he actually ever said it, but some theorists have talked about this, that the tattoo pain brings you into your body.
I believe it.
And I know that sounds linguistically the opposite of what you said about an out of body experience, but yeah, it sort of makes you be there, as you said, in the moment.
Yeah.
Uh, Very healthy. I'm not saying you get entranced, like for example, if you're like me, if having a podcast is any clue to anyone, I talk even while getting tattooed, but it still brings you into the moment. It still
Mhm.
brings you there. You just focus on this, and I think that's very healthy. That's also why a lot of the reflection comes in.
Yeah.
But to then tie us back to the nerdy stuff, I will tell one funny story and then we'll move back to nerdy stuff. I think that the way you think there is exactly how I think to some extent as well. And that is why, while I was getting tattooed in Glasgow once, a guy that was getting some white in a blackout was in excruciating pain, shaking, like getting through this. And he just looked at me while the tattoo was about taking a smoke and just said, "How do you do that?" And I'm just sitting there getting this dragon tattooed, completely still, in excruciating pain, but just sitting still. Just that arm doesn't move. The rest of me can move. That doesn't move
Mhm.
because I'm good at
Mhm.
that. And
Mhm.
and I just couldn't give him a better answer than, "Oh, just sit still."
Yeah. That's it.
I couldn't give him I so wanted to help this man in severe pain. Just give him a trick or something, but there's no trick to it. I just sit still and bear it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but it is a psychological experience that I mean, I am a very lucky person. I'm live a comfortable middle class life and there's not a lot of physical pain that comes my way unless it's I'm PMSing or something, right? But most of the time
I
I'm
mean,
living a pain-free life and I'm very lucky to do
so,
that. And so tattoos are this way of accessing this part of the human experience that I don't
mm,
nobody wants to have acts, nobody wants pain, but I in the fullness I don't have any kids and I don't plan to, so there's this excruciating pain experience that is part of being a woman that I don't get to access, and so in some ways tattooing is a really is kind of as close as that I'll ever get to that excruciating level of pain that is the property of my sex, and I
I
think
will
I
say,
think there's something kind of lovely about that.
I can't speak of the whole feminine experience there. I can only speak on what tattooed models have told me. Still does not come close, but it's all right.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But that yeah, childbirth. If
Well,
even if I had a child, I'd be taking drugs. I would
well,
not.
honestly, I could do a whole episode on pain, and I probably will do it one day with the right guest. But
Yeah.
let's move back to the nerdery because we're
Oh yes,
I've
please,
almost
please, please,
kept you
please.
for an hour by now. But I do want to say, first to know, I think it's awesome that at least you don't have a bad experience. Because what I would imagine as a sociologist and a person that has DM'd and been a player with visible tattoos, it is more often than not people think before you sit down at the table that somebody else is going to have a problem with you. More often than not,
Mm,
that never happens. It's more often than not you're the one that becomes the comfort anchor almost
mhm.
of the group because you're used to attention. So you're all right with people nudging you and being like, "Hey, do you do this? Can you help me with this? Can you like?"
Oh, interesting.
And I think that's my own experience of why it also works well when I've run. For example, I ran a really great Vampire the Masquerade game once,
Mm,
and people felt very quickly very comfortable with me because I didn't usher them away if they asked about my tattoos or if they asked about how did they hurt, if they asked tattoo advice and stuff like that. And that became an entryway of trust in a way. So then they also became comfortable with sharing how they felt about the game, sharing how they feel about their character, wanting my advice. For example, I think Vampire the Masquerade is a brilliant game. I know you know some brilliant people that have to do with it. I, for some weird reason, forgot the main guy's fucking name, even though he goes to Sweden all the time, neighboring country of here, and I've known his name for ages, and now I fucking forgot it.
that's all right. Is it Jason Carl?
Yes, thank you very much.
He just recently left. Did you know this?
Oh shit!
He's no longer
But
there.
but um, But anyways, he was quite brilliant. But
Mhm.
for example, with that game, it sort of became a bonding element in a sense, and that also made me more comfortable explaining some of the things about my style as a storyteller, as it's called in that game system, and how I, for example, I like to play it very heavy. But that also means that I advise players that don't rule; they can do it if they want to. But I just say, for example, since we're playing with evil, as the book also says, and playing with some heavy shit, if you're not comfortable with it or don't feel you can do it in a tasteful way, just play your own gender and your own ethnicity. Because it shouldn't become a caricature in the middle of this. We're gonna have
Hmm.
laughs. We're gonna have all sorts of stuff going on. That's an easy thing to broach when people trust you and they want to listen to your opinion. If they don't trust you, they're just gonna be like, "Ugh." If they disagree, they'll just be like, "Oh, fuck you. That's a weird rule." If they agree, they won't know how to vote. Like trust is as you know better than most people I could talk to. Trust is a big part of being a dungeon master or a game master, to use the broader term.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting point to bring up that being open about your tattoos can build trust with people. I've definitely experienced that as well. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, I'm happy to hear that it's not just me because I mean, I've not had a chance to broach that with other people that have run games in Altitude. But it's interesting that you have the same experience. But you know what I mean then, because it sort of goes back to the icebreaker point you also made and the sociable aspect of it. You know, and that's the thing. Like you're no different. You just showcase it in a different way, and you have a different,
Hmm.
in a sense, a different relationship to your body than nerds at Altitude.
Hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, agreed. Very cool. Yeah.
But I think that's what attracts people like us to it. That, like we spoke about earlier, we're so passionate about certain stuff that it just needs to come out. Like it needs to be there. Like you feel
Yeah.
like you have to do it almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. It is an interesting phenomenon. And this is the first time I've ever really analyzed the relationship between nerddom and tattoos, but it's a very closely linked relationship. And it totally makes sense that the people who define themselves, because nerds, for better or worse, what I think is one of the definitions of a nerd is that you are you are so incredibly interested in something, anything, that it becomes a part of your identity. And so it's a natural extension to then want other people to know that that's a part of your identity and that it's an unassailable part of your identity
Yeah.
because you have inscribed it upon your skin for all time.
Mm.
That's how dedicated you are to your nerddom about this particular topic, that you're willing to bet the rest of your life you're still going to be interested in this. And that's a hell of a bet. Like
I
I've,
mean, as I
I've
said, commitment, and I think it's a beautiful word you used there as well, unassailable. Like that's what you
mhm,
want to show. This is an unassailable commitment. That's
mhm,
also like, for example, I know the author of this manga is problematic, but the characters here meant so much to me growing up that even though I knew some parts and later found out he was way worse than I thought after having gotten this tattoo, I don't regret it because it's not him. It becomes so meaningful to you. The same reason I don't hate on people that have Harry Potter tattoos in the
yep,
nerd
same.
space.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, they often hate J.K. Rowling more than you do.
Yep, yep, I agree with that.
More often
Yeah.
than not. I've not met somebody with a Harry Potter tattoo just like, yay, J.K. No, they fucking loathe the cunt
Yeah.
because they are so passionate about this. They have claimed it as their own thing.
Yeah.
And then and imagine somebody, like it'll be with you with Lord of the Rings or me with Star Wars, somebody comes and pisses on the way you like that thing. That hurts. It hurts way
Yeah.
more than any casual fan could experience or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that that's a brilliant point.
If anybody ever came at me at some point, if Tolkien was ever like canceled in the future and be like, "Oh, you got Lord of the Rings tattoos, you must be a white supremacist or whatever," I'd be like, "No, this isn't about Tolkien. In no way was this about Tolkien. This is not a picture of Tolkien.
I mean, it's not a
This is not
picture of
his
him.
name. No, it's not. This is my what I am displaying to you. What you are displaying is your relationship with these
Yeah,
ideas. And that has nothing to do in a lot of ways with the
exactly.
original creator.
I mean,
This
as happy as
is
I am that George Lucas has come out nowadays as a staunch anti-capitalist, even though he's a billionaire
uh-huh.
and stuff like that, and he's great in that sense. Even if the opposite had happened, it wouldn't change how I feel about Star Wars.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. It's yours. It's yours. And tattoos really make drive that home is that
absolutely.
this is my version. This is my piece.
But I think another interesting point, and that sort of ties back to how we've both moved from just being nerds with tattoos into tattoo people, both of us. It's also that's also in a sense reclaiming the idea that nerddom is all that defines us, and
Mm.
saying no, we have other stuff. It's all saying
Hmm.
no, no, I just like this, and now I'm also just a tattoo person and stuff like that. And it
Yeah.
sort of becomes part of, to borrow a term from brilliant Afro American, originally from black social scientists and about black lived experience and stuff like that, but has been used in many other contexts nowadays. I just want to say that because people need to know where brilliant stuff is from. but in an intersectional way. It sort of shows this the intersectionality of our identities, of the many things that
Yeah.
come together to form this whole that is Kate and Mathew.
Oh, I like that.
Thank
I
you very
like
much.
that.
I'm happy. It would be awkward as the expert in the room in that aspect, and you were like, no,
No, I don't
no,
believe that.
just turning a little
No, no,
pregnant for a
no.
moment. No, no,
You know,
please, no.
I've had more than one person of color be like, "Oh, your skin is so pale and you get to have so many colorful tattoos." And I'm always like, "Yeah, man, this sucks. Why don't you get to have colorful tattoos? Come on,
Well, they
science."
can. That's a whole other story. But I've had black artists on here that'll happily tell you they can.
Oh,
But
good.
we've been around the block now, so to speak. And I've kept you for an hour. I'd always like to round off. I mean, it's been very lighthearted, but some have been very deep and very cerebral and very in-depth conversation and discussion. This it's always like to round off on a more lighthearted note. And so we also already mentioned it several times. I'll happily take part of the blame for that. I'm curious to know, and also the hope he will see this. What tattoo would you give Mathew Lillard? What if you could decide on something he needs to get? Size, style, and what
Oh
it
my
should feature.
God.
Let's not go full design. That we'll be here forever. But like style, placement, and what IP, like, and how big it is. I would love to know. Like what I'll have it with mine first.
Oh, please lead with yours. Yeah.
I think he would be so cool in a way, not by going total opposite of what most people know him from. Because most people that are in the nerd space are like Scream and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would play into his love of fantasy and get a new traditional like fantasy epic down his own. That would be my
Yeah.
thing.
Full
But I also
sleeve.
have a bias. Like uh I like new traditional, and I'm also not so dumb as a straight guy to not admit that the guy has guns that are pretty nice at times. And it would be cool with a fucking tattoo down that, right?
Yeah, he's keeping it
I'm not
tight.
too straight to admit that dude looks beautiful.
He is a beautiful man. Well, I happen to know Matthew's favorite class is
Oh,
Druid.
okay. Oh.
So I would probably get him a custom designed um, tattoo, maybe like right here on the forearm,
Oh
this
yeah.
space of a really beautiful druid symbol that could double as, because he's still an actor, he still needs to be able to cover this stuff up. So
Mm.
full sleeve, not practical, but a little druid symbol here that's got lots of greenery and sunlight and maybe like a sigil that matters to him. I would that's what I would go for him, because
And your
it's
initials
nerdy,
hidden
but
somewhere in there.
so obviously my initials next to a dick. But yeah,
No, I think
I
it's
think he'd
actually a
like
brilliant
that one.
idea. I think we need to. I think with my help, I can play the sociologist and expert. We'll help. We'll coerce him into getting this tattoo.
He mentioned to me recently, he was like, "I think I want to get some tattoos." I was like, okay, let me know. I'd love to help out.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, it's been I want a note to round off on honestly. He better watch this now.
I'll send it
Uh,
to him.
but I'll tell you this. It's been so amazing having you on, Kate, and
Thank you.
I thought it would be brilliant. It was even better than I expected. Absolute pleasure to have you on this podcast. It's a
Thank you,
humble,
man.
tiny little podcast and nerd out with you. Uh, please, if you will, not that you need it, but it's only fair. Uh, Plug yourself and what you have going on at the moment.
Oh yeah. So I teach DMing classes to women currently, and so anybody who's interested in getting that detail, all of that information can go to my Instagram or my TikTok at Kate Welch with 4 H's. And yeah, I'm on a mission to get more women and girls running tables of whatever TTRPG they want, and so I'm trying to enable more of that in the world, because I think that women make really great dungeon masters, and we need more of them. So yeah, Kate Welch, cha 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 on Instagram.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Mads.
And to anybody watching, we'll see you in the comments.
See ya.
Hello, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this awesome episode with the lovely Kate Welch. Very indulgent of me to have on such an illustrious dungeon master / game master who's DM'd, as you talked about, for celebrities and professionals and all people of all walks of life. And it was interesting to talk about being tattooed in really nerdy spaces, and especially making a career in the public online space within those spaces as well, and around conventions and events and all sorts of stuff like that. Because it has been interesting for my own personal experience as well, seeing how a lot more nerds have gotten really into tattoos, yet there's still also some that aren't as into it as some might be. But yeah, before rambling on too much, I hope you found it as interesting as I do, and it was really lovely to talk to Kate about this. And if Mathew Lillard watches this episode, I'm so sorry we talked so much about you. You're a really awesome guy. And you have to admit, you would look really cool with a full sleeve tattoo. But thank you so much for being a good sport if you see this. And thank you to Kate. Next time, we're going to be diving back into masculine identity, bodybuilding, and also sportsmanship and tattoos, together with the awesome former professional American football player and fitness coach. Sorry if I got any of that wrong, Coach Coop. But yeah, Coach Coop indeed. Great guy, has his own podcast as well you should check out, called The Coach's Compass. That'll of course link on the episode in question when it comes out. And yeah, I'll see you guys around in a month's time.